We often talk about LSU as being wide receiver university, with them consistently producing top-tier wide receiver talent for the NFL. But I don't think a lot of people give LSU credit for also being DBU. It seems like year after year, there is a top-tier defensive back coming from Baton Rouge that goes on to have a very nice NFL career, and this year is no different. LSU was aggressive at addressing their secondary in the transfer portal, and they added the most impactful cornerback in the country so far in CB Mansoor Delane. Delane is a player who I really liked in the offseason, and I thought he had a very good chance of coming out in last year's draft. But so far for LSU, he has surpassed even my high expectations, and I think he's got a really great chance of being the first cornerback off the board in April. What makes Delane such a great player, and how high could he be taken in the 2026 draft class? That is what we will be discussing in today's video. But hey guys, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps me out and gets this video out to more NFL draft fans just like yourselves. Comment down below which players you guys would like to see me discuss in a future prospect spotlight, and without further ado, let's take a closer look at Mansoor Delane. Mansoor Delane was a 3-star recruit in the 2022 recruiting class and committed to Virginia Tech, where he played the first 3 seasons of his college career. He put up good numbers for the Hokies, particularly as a sophomore. His junior season, however, had some people left disappointed. Delane was targeted 72 times, allowing 34 receptions, 570 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He did have 4 interceptions and 4 pass breakups, but wasn't nearly as impactful as he was as a sophomore, and ended up hitting the transfer portal where he committed to LSU. And what a move that was for the Tigers. While it's only been 4 games, Delane has been the best cornerback in college football. So far, he is allowing a 22.2% reception percentage when targeted. He has 4 pass breakups and interceptions and has allowed just 36 yards on 18 targets. His upside is very high, and I think he will continue this high level of play in SEC competition. The first thing that I think really sticks out with Delane is his exceptional athletic abilities. He may not have 4.3 speed, but I think he is one of the most impressive athletes I have seen in recent years in terms of his hip fluidity. His change of direction and the ability to basically run routes for receivers is absolutely exceptional, and I think because of it, it allows you to play Delane on an island. Hip fluidity is one of the traits I value most in a defensive back, and Delane has that, but he does mix it with very good speed. Like I said, I don't think he's going to run in the 4.3s, but I do think he's going to run in the low 4.4s, and it allows him to help defend the deep routes. So from an athletic standpoint, I think Delane checks those boxes. I also love the discipline that Delane plays with in man-to-man coverage. He doesn't bite on double moves, and he's able to stick with wide receivers in tight coverage because he is so disciplined. He has the ability to stop and go on a dime, and because of that, he hardly ever gets beat vertically or across the middle, because he seemingly knows exactly what the receiver wants to do, and he does such an excellent job of defending receivers in one-on-one coverage. I think he gives you so much flexibility, not just because he's so disciplined, but he mixes it with physicality and good football IQ. He's awesome in press man coverage with a very strong punch at the line of scrimmage, and I think he has a very fluid back pedal, and like we said, great hips. Last year, we saw Delane play some safety for Virginia Tech, and he has played in the slot throughout his career. So there's so much to love about Delane in terms of his man coverage potential, but also his versatility on the back end. Delane is also just a really hard player to throw the ball to, because he will capitalize and has exceptional ball skills. Through 4 games, Delane has 4 pass breakups and an interception on the year, but even dating back to his time at Virginia Tech, he showed the ability to make plays on the football. Throughout his career, Delane has 15 pass breakups and 7 interceptions on the season, and is capitalized when thrown against. Teams, however, have not challenged him much this year because he has been so dynamic and such a shutdown player. Delane is allowing a 22.2% reception when targeted, which is an outstanding number, and so I love what he does in man-to-man in terms of the ball skills, the movement, the fluidity. He checks all of the boxes. There's a lot to love about Delane. However, I think there is one area in particular where I think he can really take that next step. When Delane plays off-man coverage, I think he plays too far back off the ball, and he allows a lot of plays underneath. We haven't seen it as much at LSU this year because they have primarily used him in press coverage, but when he is playing off, I feel like he doesn't play with the best football IQ, and he is susceptible to getting beat on underneath routes. I think some of this is a scheming issue, but I also think Delane could do a better job on some of his zone assignments, and I think there is room to improve as a zone coverage defender. He's not a bad zone defender, but I think he brings a lot more in man coverage than he does in zone. I also think some will question Delane in terms of his size. He's listed at 5'11", 190 pounds, and he likely will have shorter arms for the position. This isn't something I'm overly concerned about in coverage because he is very good in that phase, but in run defense, I think it can hurt him. While I like the motor that he plays with, he does have the tendency to really struggle at getting off of blocks, and his play strength throughout his career hasn't been amazing. He struggled with missed tackles from time to time, and I think some of that is attributed to having smaller arms. Mansoor Delane is a player who I thought could have been a top 100 pick in the 2025 draft had he declared, but now I think he is a lock to be a first-round pick, especially if he keeps up this level of play. His fluidity, his ball skills, his mirroring, his physicality, it's everything you look for in a modern boundary corner, and I think Delane is only going to get better from here. He is my number 2 corner in the draft class as of now, because I am still holding out a little bit of hope that Jermod McCoy is going to return to form, but it is a very tight race, and I have Delane as a top 15 player in the draft class. In terms of a scheme fit, Delane to me fits best in a press man-to-man coverage scheme. He's not a guy who I love in zone or off coverage for reasons we discussed earlier, but I think it just forces him to be less physical and, as we talked about, getting beat underneath. I want to see him in a scheme where he can play aggressive, play physical, and be closer to the ball where I think he can make much more of an impact in that phase. My pro comparison for Mansoor Delane is Detroit Lions cornerback DJ Reed. Reed is a player who I really love and has very similar upside and traits to Mansoor Delane. He's not the biggest corner in the world, but you wouldn't be able to tell because he is such a physical defender. He's fluid athletically, and he's one of the best press counters in all of football. While Delane is a couple of inches bigger, I think their play styles and the way they move, the way they like to get their hands on receivers is very similar. So that's the comparison that I'm going to give to Mansoor Delane. Mansoor Delane is a shutdown corner. He has been one of the most impactful coverage defenders in all of college football this year, and I think he is going to continue to play at a very high level. I am a huge fan of his game, and ultimately, I believe that Mansoor Delane will be a first-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft.